Game on.
Hey there, game gurus. Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a video about, well, the iiRcade. And here's my gold iiRcade. Now, I've already done a video showcasing the GRS Viper switcher board in the standard legacy unit. That unit does have the advantage of being able to work with the mystery encoder board. You can add games that way. But I did show the prototype being installed in that unit. Well, I also have the gold unit here, and there are about 300 or so people who have the gold units. So I'm going to install this one here. Now, this is the second revision of the GRS Viper switcher board for the iiRcade. This board will let you keep your original iiRcade pretty much as it is, stock, but with the press of a button with the GRS Ultimate Control Panel, switching it to our Viper board and be able to load more games very easily. Something that's a little difficult or impossible to do right now on the gold. Now, if you want to see a really in-depth video about this board and how to install it in the legacy unit, I'll put a link down below to that video. You can take a look at it there. This will be more of a quicker video of how to install it in here, because a lot of it is the same with the legacy unit. But what's different, I will showcase in this video. But you can see right off the bat, and I know the lighting is not great in here, and I am sorry, but this is what I have to work with at the moment. You can see right now that the board is an open board. The last one was completely enclosed in a 3D printed case. And really in thinking about that, there really doesn't need to be a full case around this because it's going to be inside a machine anyway, encased in wood. So there's no sense in enclosing it. And this will give better ventilation, number one, and easier access to components if you ever need to get in here to make changes to it. But there are some differences on this board. Most notably, on the top on the switcher here, we added a couple of switches. And these switches will let you designate what board starts up on the machine. If you want the iiRcade to launch when you turn the power on, one switch will set that. If you want the Viper to come up, and maybe you want the Viper to come up because your iiRcade board died, or you just don't want to play the games in the iiRcade, and you want to really use the Viper board, well, you can set that to your default. So that's one new thing we added. A couple of things were just some small revisions to hopefully fix some of the issues that I discovered in the process of testing the original board. Without further ado, let's turn this guy off, take out the motherboard. The motherboard does have to be removed from where it is and inserted on here. We'll install it and power it on, and we'll be able to use the secondary button that's on the control panel here that's not lit right now, but it will be when this is installed, and lets you play the original games you purchased on your iiRcade, as long as that board is still working. And by pressing a button, you'll switch to this board. Now, one of the advantages of the gold, I know there's been some disadvantages with the mystery encoder board. One of the advantages to this one is they kind of, I guess, fixed the secondary HDMI out. So on the legacy unit, when sometimes you switch back and forth between the Viper and the legacy unit, the screen gets truncated. And that's because iiRcade did not cling to the proper standard for the HDMI port. So the only way to fix that is to reboot your legacy unit, and then it comes up fine. It doesn't do it all the time, but I find the majority of the time it does when you switch between Viper back to the legacy unit, that the screen gets compressed. You can still play it, but the screen is compressed. You have to reboot your iiRcade to do that. Now on the gold, this doesn't appear to be the case, and I'll test that here. My team testing it in the manufacturing plant saw that the gold unit was able to switch between Viper and gold, Viper and gold, Viper and gold, without having an issue with the display port, or they actually say the HDMI port. Display port's another port altogether. But in any case, without further ado, let's get this thing installed in here and try it out. And as long as testing goes good with this one, this will be the version that goes into production, and we can get this out to the iiRcade community. So let's get started. Okay, once you have your machine powered off, you are going to have to remove your ultimate control panel. So we're going to just take that out here. Very easy to do. Just undo the two screws on each side. Of course, when you lift this out of place, be careful with your back glass or your plexiglass, that's going to shift. And this one I'm using actual glass. Of course, it's not tempered glass, even though iiRcade said it was tempered glass. It is not. But let's get this out of the way and keep it safe. Not tempered glass. Okay, then we'll just get our control panel and get this out. And we'll take our GRS Ultimate Control Panel and put that aside for safekeeping. Okay, so for right now we're done here. Now we need to get to the back of the unit, take off the back panel, and get out the motherboard. Let's get started on that. Okay, once again, we're going to have to remove the back panel here to get access to that motherboard. So we're going to take out our screws and carefully take out our board. And any old cables you've had there previously, and we'll put them aside for safekeeping. Not tempered glass. All right, here's the back of the gold unit, and here are the speakers. We're going to disconnect these because we have our own amplifier that we're using. And the motherboard is under here. I haven't actually gotten it yet. I'm going to break that seal. I guess I'm not going to have a warranty anymore. But what am I going to do, right? We're also going to disconnect this cable here that goes to the monitor because we're going to supply power to that as well. There we go. Now just taking apart these screws and breaking this warranty seal. Then we're very careful when we get that last screw out. Tilt out our board. Now there's another sticker down here that's got it attached. Just let that come and pull it down. And that'll take away your warranty. You are now officially voided from any support from iiRcade. But you know what? I think that's okay. What we need to do now is disconnect this display cable here. So come out here, come out here. We're going to disconnect the motherboard from out of here. So I'm going to get started on that now. Now with this cable here, it's really just pinch both sides and it should come right out. And if you notice, the gold contacts are facing you and the silver part is facing the back wall. So that's how it's going to go back in, with the contacts facing you. And this is our cable here going to our board. We're going to disconnect that as well. We're probably not going to need this. I'm pretty sure we include that with our board. Just disconnect that cable. And we have our display for power. We're going to disconnect that from here as well, like so. And we're going to take out these screws. This cable is not going to be needed anymore. Now we're going to take out these last screws and get this out of here. Okay, now we include a special glove. It's an anti-static glove that you use when you're taking this out and working with this. You don't want to damage the board. And if you look at the original Legacy unit, you can see they kind of learned. They didn't spend as much money making the board look beautiful. And the original Legacy board is white. I mean, it's a really nice board. They spent way too much money on it. So I think they learned and went with a standard PCB right here. And once you remove all these little things, we're going to try and very carefully finagle this thing out of this metal sheath here. There we go. Being careful. Can't get spares of these. And our board is now free. You can see this is our Wi-Fi antenna right here. And again, you should be using your anti-static glove. You should be doing what I'm doing right now, but I live life with dangerously sometimes. But we got the board out. Now to get this transplanted into the GRS Viper encoder switcher board. Now you can see on here we have all these little pegs here that the Legacy unit would connect to. But to put the one from the gold, this one right here and this one right here needs to be removed. So I'm going to get a little screwdriver and take this off. Now there's a screw on the bottom, so make sure you put a finger underneath when you take these off and take off this peg here and this peg here. I'm getting started on that. I'll be right back. And this is why you always look at instructions. So you actually want to remove this one here, yes, but not this one. This one you want to keep. You want to take out the lower one, the bottom one there. But once that's done, we can fit our board, which I put over here somewhere. Again, I'm using a static glove for this. And let's see, that lines up, and it does. We'll screw that in place, and then we can get started hooking up the cables. Okay, you can reuse the screws that were holding in the motherboard originally, and then it'll look something along the lines of this. Now you're going to see under here there's a flex cable down here and a power cord. The flex cable's going to go here, and the power cord is going to be put in over here. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. So again, inside here you'll find these cables. It'll be cable H, which we're going to connect here. This is, I believe it was F is your HDMI, which goes here, and K is your power. So H, F, Okay, goes there. Now we're ready to seat this inside the machine, and we'll connect these other cables to the main part of the iiRcade. Let's get started on that. Okay, when you're ready to install the GRS Viper and Ultimate Encoder board inside your iiRcade, you can see right here is a little volume knob, a little pot potentiometer right there. That's going to face the back of the unit. You can see I added a micro SD extender just so I can put SD card in easier. Now the Viper does have 32 gigabytes of internal storage. You can access it over Wi-Fi and copy it to the internal storage. You can use USB-C to copy over, or you can use a micro SD. So this is something I just added to it right here. And pretty much everything else we need to connect is going to be towards the front of the unit here. Like we have our USB ports for the USB devices on here, the speaker connectors over here, and everything else. So let me get started on that. Now if you do have the base unit, the stand, the GRS Viper switcher encoder board, such a long word, I gotta think of something shorter, will fit between the knobs that lock it between the top cabinet and the bottom cabinet. So you can put it right there, and it should pretty much stay as it is. You can put rubber feet on it, you can use Velcro on it, whatever you want to do to attach it, but we'll leave that up to you. So we're going to connect the rest of the cables here to the rest of the machine. And you can see right here we have two connectors for our speakers. So we're going to connect them to our stereo speakers because we have our own amplifier built in. There's one. There's two. So we're now going to power the speakers. Now again, we do have that pot on there. I recommend maybe putting about 50%, otherwise it really is super loud. I know the iiRcade is loud, and we did the amplifier, but it's super loud. So you can adjust it there, but the buttons in the front still work. So you can still use those to adjust the volume. Now this cable here on the left-hand side, this ribbon cable is going to go to the front of the unit to go to our ultimate control panel. So I'm just going to route that down below here. Put it towards the front. Now we have to reconnect our cable here to go to our light up marquee. Okay, one thing I just noticed, the cable for the light up marquee is not going to be long enough to reach our board. I just told my team that. This is the first time I'm putting it in a gold unit. So we're going to have to make a small extender cable for this. We'll make sure that's in the kit. So that would go over here if it reached, but it doesn't. But we will make sure there's a small little cable to adapt this to make it a little bit longer so it reaches the light up marquee. So for right now, that's not going to be illuminated in this here right now. But the next thing I am going to do is neatly get this cable here, which powers the LEDs for our display. And that's also key. You can't put it wrong. That is C. That's going to go in right down over here. And just be gentle with those cables because they are skinny and little. So that's okay with that. Now the two cables that are left right here right now, it's a USB and another ribbon cable, is if it was going in the legacy unit. So for right now they're not going to be used. So I'll make sure they're just out of the way. But one thing we do need is this cable right here. Remember the gold pins face out, the silver faces back, and this has to go in here and this will control the display. Just take your time with this. It has to go in all the way and hear the clicks on both sides. And once it's in, that's it. So unfortunately, like I said, the light up marquee is not going to work right now, but we'll make sure we make a small adapter cable to give it an extra inch or two to make sure it goes into that connector. So now we're going to connect the the front control panel, the USB ports, to the USB ports that are located right here on the machine. It'll be hard to see in the video, but there's USB ports right here. We're going to make sure that the original iiRcade's front panel gets connected to that, as well as the USB ports that are on the GRS Ultimate Control panel. So you have access to 4, and count fingers, 4 USB ports on the front. The original 2 that came with the machine, plus 2 more that we gave on our control panel. And I'm going to get on that right now. And one last thing I forgot to mention, before you get to the front of the machine to attach our control panel, which is the last step really, make sure your power connector is connected right here. And I will say that it's a little bit easier. You have a little more space now with this open design versus the last design where it was all enclosed in a 3D printed case to get access to everything. So I'm just gonna run this power cord over here and connect it like so. And of course we'll run all this stuff out the back later. So now I'm just going to switch this thing around. It's not the easiest thing to do. They put really good feet on here. It doesn't want you to turn this thing around. And I have such a little space. And I do apologize for the lighting, but I wanted to get this thing done so you guys can see that this thing is still progressing. And well, let me get this thing turned around. Okay, now that we're back to the front of the unit, we have this cable right here, which is going to go to our GRS Ultimate Control Panel to power the USB hub and all the things that are in there. And then we already have this connected to the board, which are the original USB ports. And we have to connect, well, our controller with H over here. So I'm going to get my control panel, put it back in. I need one more thing too. I do need to run the power cable for the hub that's in the Ultimate Control Panel. So I'll put that through the front as well. Okay, another piece you'll find in your kit is this little board right here. This is a GRS board that will let you connect the GRS Ultimate Control Panel to the GRS Viper switcher board in the iiRcade. So that'll connect these guys together. So if we connect these together, USB hub, USB power for the hub, and well, just lock this thing back up and try it out. Right back. Okay, once you got them all connected, let's get this thing back together. All right, let's tighten some screws. I'm going to turn this bad boy on. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited to see if this thing turns on. Here we go. Okay, so I have everything buttoned up right now. And we have obviously the GRS Ultimate Control Panel here. And now we have the GRS Viper encoder switcher board inside this gold unit right here. Again, both of these, the GRS Ultimate Control Panel and the GRS Viper switcher encoder board, work in the gold unit and in the original legacy unit, or the classic unit, if you will. Now, because of the way this works here, I recommend when you do these modifications, putting these on an external power strip to turn everything on, or a smart switch, okay? This will still turn on, the machine and so forth, but when this is plugged into power normally, the way this works, there's gonna be power, these lights will be illuminated, and the monitor will be on. So I'm gonna switch it on right now. Right now it's on a manual switch. I'm going to turn that on, and you can see what it is. The GRS trackball is going to light up, the 48-way is going to light up, the monitor is going to turn on, and the switcher between the two different machines are going to turn on. But the motherboards are off, but these would be on normally. So I put on an external switch just to not worry about it. Let's turn on the iiRcade. So I'm going to hit this button right here. Now, again, I showed before this a dip switch we added on the motherboard. On that dip switch, you can set which machine will turn on primarily first. By default, it's going to be the iiRcade, the way it comes from the factory. So you turn this on with that. If you switch the dip switches around, the Viper would be the one that turns on primarily, and not the iiRcade. Now, some reasons may be you don't have a lot of games for the iiRcade or any games, and you just want it to come up into the Viper mode when you turn it on. Or your iiRcade goes bad and it doesn't work anymore. No sense having it try to boot and trying to get it to work in the other way. You could set which way you want it to go. Enough babbling. Let's turn this thing on. Hit the power button right here, and this will turn on the gold unit in the iiRcade. Again, all the function buttons here will still work. The menu, the volume, player 1, player 2, coin, and power. And in addition to the volume here, we also included a volume on the back, so you can fine-tune a little bit more, the volume levels of the machine. And since this is a gold unit, you have 2 USB ports here on my panel, plus you still have the original 2, so you have 4 easily accessible on the gold. And there's still more in the inside. We have an inside back here. There are more USB ports as well. So you can see the gold unit has booted up. And make sure the volume's up. There's our volume. And of course we have a gate switcher. Right now I'm in 8 mode. Now I'm in 4 mode. Go back to 8. And you can see I have some games installed here. So there are definitely some games I have on here. And you can pick and play them just like you always could. If I go into, let's say, I don't know, Donut Dodo. I like Donut Dodo. We'll go inside there. And here's Donut Dodo. I can play some Donut Dodo. Put a coin in. Start the game. I go to 4-way for this. And at any point in time, I can press the button here and it goes to the green mode. Now, this is the first time I'm doing it. It's actually have to turn on the Viper, but we'll go back and forth. I'll show you how that works. That's the one good thing about the gold unit is that you can go between the Viper and the iiRcade back and forth, and the screen is not shrunken. Where on the legacy unit, there are some issues with the HDMI port on the board, where sometimes the screen will truncate. So here's the Viper. You can see I've got some games installed here. We have different emulators. You can install as many as you like, as many ROMs as you like. The Viper has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage. You can put it right on the Viper, but there's also a micro SD card slot and USB. You can install many more ROMs outside of that. But as an example, I do have some games in here. Let's say I go into, say, Arkanoid and launch that up. My buttons here will still work just the same. We can still go from 4 to 8 way on my gate switchers. Put a coin in. Player 1. Now this can use a trackball or it can use a spinner. And if I want, hit this button, and I'm right back in Donut Dodo. So that's the one good thing about the gold unit is I can go between the Viper and the iiRcade by switching back and forth. Now another thing we've done here on the Viper one, if I hold down the Viper button, which is the right side, it'll perform a hard reset. So if for some reason you need to hard reset the Viper for any reason, hold this down for 5 seconds, and you can see it's going to reboot the Viper. Obviously with the iiRcade, you can simply hold down the power button, and that'll do the same thing as we did right here by resetting the power on the Viper. Game on. Now the one thing is on the units now, the headphone jack is not going to work, unfortunately, because of the way iiRcade did some custom software to get that to work. So unfortunately, that's not going to work. But everything else will work. You can install your games in here. Let's go into MAME. Let's try a different game here. Let's see what we want to pick here. How about some Pac-Man? Put it in 4-way mode, which is blue. And come back into Donut Dodo, no problem. Put a coin in and play Donut Dodo. Or hold down your button, escape out, and go back to Viper. So obviously I got to still do some testing on all this to make sure everything's working as I expect. But again, you can load all different kind of games inside here. You can even put movies on the Viper. It supports movie playback up to 4K on here. We support Batacera. This is version 3.8. It also supports Arcade, and there'll be other things coming out in the future for the Viper. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of how it was installed I got to still do testing on this, but I wanted to let you guys know that the GRS Ultimate Control Panel and the GRS Viper switcher will work in both these units. And as long as testing goes okay with this board, we'll start production on it and get it out to people. But that's it for today's video. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up. It really does help me out in the YouTube algorithms. But I do hope you liked the video. And if you did, if you're not currently, you want to be a subscriber, that would help me out as well. But as fun as all this stuff is, as far as it is playing your GRS Viper or playing your iiRcade, remember, nothing takes precedence over family, friends. Always let them know you love them, because tomorrow's never promised. But in between those times, play some iiRcade, play some Viper, and then game on.
Now you're looking for that arcade experience at home, but you don't have the space for a full-size arcade in your house or endless funds, then you need the GRS Build-A-Cade. It's arcade quality without the arcade price, from someone you can trust. The GRS Build-A-Cade is very simple, easy to assemble, 1/6 scale arcade computer you can build yourself. You can buy interchangeable controllers for every gaming option you need to play the games the way they're meant to be played. You can also design your own artwork or purchase artwork separately to make your GRS Build-A-Cade look like the machine of your dreams. The GRS Build-A-Cade is also the only home system STEM certified. Come see what all the YouTube creators are raving about. GRS Build-A-Cade.
Game on.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.